Hey guys, this is here bringing you another video. Now, welcome back to a patch note breakdown. This is for patch 11.4. So again, if you appreciate these patch rundowns, please do throw a like on the video and let me know what you think of it after you take everything in. So again, we do these pretty much every single patch now, especially because the game's changing a lot. You know, Riot have admitted the balance in the game is a little bit iffy. And they've had an aim that they want to try and get the game balanced by the end of spring, is what Riot said. So each patch is coming with quite a lot of changes to try and remedy some of the things. Now, I will say, I've had a little look of the patch rundown here. There's a couple things that I'm a bit like, are they doing that? So we'll have to have a see and have a little look. So let's get into the rundowns. What I will do is momentarily, I will bring this up on the screen, make it bigger, so we can just see what's going on. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So we have Nerfs 2, finally, Camille and Kaiser, two of arguably the most dominant champions we've seen in a while. That, you know, for the past month, maybe even longer, you've seen Camille even pick or ban in top lane. You've seen Kaiser definitely pick or ban in bot lane. So it is a nice feeling that they are maybe getting a bit more tuned to not be in every single game. Renekton is also being nerfed mainly for pro play. SAMIRA is also being changed very heavily, and Skarner is also receiving a nerf. Not really seen many Skarners myself, but apparently he's a thing. We're then getting buffs to a lot of champions. Amumu, Braum, Caitlyn, Fiora Jinx. More buffs to Jinx, by the way. She just got a buff last patch. KATARINA, which, yeah. Urgot, Lee Sin, which I was hyped for, but we'll get into what it is later on. Soraka, Talon, Tryndamere, Varus, and Veigar. We also, to the bottom right, have item changes to Gunblade, Mage Items, Grievous Wound items. Obviously, again, healing still seems to be the thing that Riot can't seem to get under control. And again, reminding people, it's self-healing, not support healing. We're not complaining about a Soraka heal, because you're seeing a Soraka buff there. It's not to do with that. It's to do with Lifesteal Omnivamp. That's more the issue. And then, obviously, Moonstone Renewer is also being nerfed. But there we go. Overall, more buffs than nerfs. And the game, I would say, is in a very strong place. So it is a bit weird seeing a lot of buffs. But it's arguably just system changes that need to be done and a few champions here or there. So let's get into it. Break everything down as much as we can. So Amumu, he took over the beginning of the season, if you remember, and then he got very toned down. It was like, bye-bye, good, you know, you're going back to the depths of the best bronze jungler, Amumu. You're no longer being played in Challenger. So they nerfed him heavily, and now they're buffing him a little bit here. So they're giving him 2 extra health at rank 1, and his tantrum damage, his E, is being buffed by a rank 2 by a little bit, but it's scaling. It's giving me more late game base damage, not really early game, but that's fine. Again, little changes, more going to help his clear than anything else. Braum, hide behind Braum. Not really seen much of Braum, personally, because it just seems, I don't know. Braum's good, but maybe he's not as mobile as other supports are, maybe? I don't know. Our cooldown decrease, though, which is obviously the big thing with Braum. It is a 20-second buff. So 20 seconds off what it used to be every single rank. That is pretty good. Quite considerable. A 20-second buff. Caitlyn. So Caitlyn buffs, obviously, they've had, obviously, Jhin, Kaiser, a little bit of Samira thrown in there as, like, the primary AD carries. So they are buffing another AD carry to try and just make it less dominant. Only 1 or 2 of them. So the base damage growth and attack speed growth has both been increased. And the damage growth, by the way, has gone up by 0.5 AD per level. That's pretty good. And also the attack speed is, again, 0.5% attack speed per level. That ain't bad. That's actually quite considerable when you're getting to the later levels of the game. So that is definitely going to give Caitlyn a little bit more late game oomph. So that's nice. Not bad. Again, not enough that I'd say, oh, she's going to be broken, but she's going to be pretty good. Camille, so again, one of the problematic champions. And when I saw this was the preview, by the way, I was like, that ain't going to do it. So I still think Camille is going to be hugely problematic at the moment. Well, again, when you say problematic, she's still going to be dominant because the nerf that they're doing is just simply a 2-second nerf to her W. Yes, the W is very useful in top lane, but I don't think it's the reason why she's a thing. Her Q true damage is lovely. Her mobility with E is great. It allows you to also go Ignite if you're very confident. Her ultimate is easy to set up for junglers to come chain gank the top laner. And she's very, like, itemized. There are some champions that have really benefited from the new items in League. Some haven't. Camille definitely has. So all of that together, and this is a 2-second nerf to W, I think she's still going to be the dominant top laner. This is interesting, though, because Fiora has always been hovering. Fiora's always a good top laner. She's actually pretty good into Camille as well. And the passive mark increased for her passive, so whatever direction the critical or whatever it's called is. The mark damage used to do a 2.5% plus 4.5% per 100 AD. Again, it's not saying what that percent is, technically. Percent of what? Health, I guess, maybe. But that is now being the percent, the flat percent is going up 0.5%. And then the per 100 AD, which again, maybe late game Fiora has 200 AD, maybe a little bit more. Again, is going up 1%. So instead of 4.5 per 100 AD, you're getting 5.5. So again, I don't really know what that percent damage is dealing. Like, it's not clear here. But it's a damage buff. We know that much. So Fiora's going to do more damage for her vital marks. There we go. Next up is Jinx. So yeah, interesting. So last patch, they buff-nerfed Jinx. So they buffed in giving her more range. They made the chompers activate quicker, but they nerfed her health. Jinx had, and some people were like freaking out by it, but Jinx had the second most base health in the game. Second. She was beating tanks at level 1 with base health. For an AD carry, that made no sense. They nerfed it, and from memory, it was either 630 or 620. They put it down to 550, so it was quite a sharp nerf, like considerable. They've put it back up to 610. Now, I don't know if that's what it used to be. I don't think it was that high, but yeah, like they're giving her quite a bit of health back. Like 60 health at rank 1 is 1, maybe 2 autos, extra survivability that she was then missing. So yeah, that would probably help her early game quite a bit. Kaiser, the other big problematic champion. Maybe no more Kaiser. Q-based damage per missile, maximum single target damage, and maximum evolved single target damage decreased. So again, no one adapts to the new items like Kaiser. She can do multiple different builds. All are great. None of them feel terrible. There's like 3, I'd say, definitely good builds. You can go obviously Kraken, Gale Force, or you can even... You're probably going to buy one of those items, but you can go more of an AP after that, or you can continue going AD with Collector and stuff. So she's very, versatile. Early game's not bad. Late game's fantastic. So there's not really a weakness to Kaiser. So what are they doing? Her damage is nuts. So her Q, that's all they're nerfing. The damage per missile, though, is going down 5 in the early game, up to 10. That's the base per missile. And then the max single target base damage. So if all the missiles are going onto one person, it used to do 101 at rank 1 and 250 basically. I'm rounding a little bit here. 250 basically at rank 5. They're nerfing it by 25-ish at maximum rank. But when you evolve it, obviously it did even more. They're nerfing that again by about 20 to 30-ish. So, I mean... They're not insane nerfs for how dominant this champion's been. Again, Riot can scream about win rates overall, and some players do as well. When the champion has such a high player rate, having even a positive win rate is mind-blowing. It's the same that if a champion is really specialist, let's say Riven. Riven normally sits with a negative win rate because she is a specialist champion. And a lot of people will play that champion who don't specialize in her, and that's who will bring the win rate down. The specialists have good win rates. So normally, if you see Riven with a positive win rate, you're like, oh, that's worrying because it's a specialist champion. When a champion is so popular, like insanely popular, it means everybody's playing it, every skill level's playing it. And when the champion has a good win rate, but not just that, the play rate, the play or ban rate is insanely high, and they're still keeping a really good win rate. That is just the trifecta of, oh my god, high ban rate, high pick rate, high win rate as well. A high win rate, high pick rate, high ban rate. All of those 3, that's what Kaiser's had. She's had the trifecta, and this, I'd say, isn't a crazy nerf for that. But that's just me. Next one was the one that I was like, are they serious? So again, Katarina is, you guys know, I don't usually use the words broken or overpowered. It's a really overused word in League. A lot of the time it's lost its meaning. It's a clickbait word. And you guys know I do use those words when I truly believe something is overpowered or is broken. I don't just throw the words out there. Katarina with Kraken and all that interaction was broken. It was just overpowered and broken. It took so much skill and away from Kat that normally people go, she's a pretty skillful champ. Didn't matter. Like, her play rate spiked so high because anybody could pull Katarina off, because all you basically had to do was press R, passive R. It triggered the passive. Kraken Slayer involves insane damage, and that's all you had to do. And then, okay, AP Katarina's come back. That's where the skill of the champion, in my opinion, is. It's not the AD broken build with Kraken. And yeah, they're bringing AD Katarina back that has all the really dodgy interactions with Blade of the Ruined King and all this stuff. So I don't know why, but anyway, like, genuinely, it seemed the community hated this version of Katarina, and they got rid of it, and now they're bringing it back. So it's like, oh god. So the on-hit ratio for her ultimate, by the way, it was 25. It's 25 at rank 1. It goes up to 35% at rank 3. So it's a buff. The damage per knife used to do 15% bonus AD with 9.9 per 108 total attack speed. It's now 16% bonus AD, so a 1% buff, and it's now doing 12.8 damage per knife and all that stuff per 100% total attack speed. So again, that's actually being nerfed, but again, how much attack speed is she buying? A little bit. If she's doing the Kraken Slayer bulk build, there is attack speed in there, so that is like a buff nerf. Is like, it depends how much, that's just pure maths of how much extra AD damage does the 1% more give to the attack speed you're getting. That's a math thing. And then finally, Deathloader's tooltip now specifies if it applies on-hit effects in addition to on-hit effects. So I don't know if the interaction with Kraken Slayer and Cat is still nerfed, because like that's what they changed a while back. They were like, specifically, Kraken Slayer doesn't really work with it now. I don't know if this counters that. Like, I just foresee maybe Broken Katarina's coming back. Maybe Kraken Slayer into Blade of the Ruined King. That's just the build-up they're going to do again, and she's going to end up doing a lot of true damage again, which isn't fun. Again, true damage you counter by building health, but there are some classes in the game that's not really an option. AD carries don't have great building health options, so they just get one shot. It's like, Again, when it's an AD champion or AP champion, you can build armor or magic resist. True damage is a different story, and when it has these weird interactions with really fast spells doing on-hit damage that then does true damage, it gets a bit funky. So I'm still a little bit worried about this, but again, it could just become Katarina's permanently banned again, because that's what it literally became. You know, I occasionally browse subreddits of champion mains just to see what their vibe is, how they're feeling. And the Katarina subreddit, where one, they didn't think the champion was broken. That was one. But the big one is that they were getting very frustrated with how much she was getting banned. Because if you specialize in one champion and then suddenly it's the broken thing or the popular thing to ban, guess what? You're never playing your specialized champion because it's banned. So we'll see what the Katarina community thinks, I guess. Urgot, W on hit damage effectiveness increase. So again, they're doing the same buff. They're doing the same buff that they're doing to Katarina, and they're giving it back to Urgot a little bit, which, okay. Lee Sin, so this is where I was so hyped. We made a video recently, like back on Lee Sin, on the leveling account, to like prepare myself if I were to return to him on the main. Lee Sin is in a really bad spot, and the reason being, I partially think, again, the game has moved on partially from early game champions to a certain extent. I'd definitely say early game junglers have a harder time because, well, maybe with the XP nerfs this will change, because it will, it means the junglers will be in early game for longer. But when champions were getting to more mid game, like Kha'Zix getting to a mid game has such a bigger power spike than the Lee Sin. It made Lee Sin make or break, that you had to get ahead early, otherwise your pick has practically lost your team the game. But with the jungle nerfs, maybe, again, with junglers staying in early game a bit longer, with XP nerfs, maybe that will bring Lee Sin a bit more back. But I was expecting more buffs than this. A 1 second Q buff. That's it. I don't think that's great. The champion was the gold. And I understand. A lot of people got bored of Lee because he was the golden child of League of Legends for a solid 3 years. That for about 3 or maybe even 4 years, like from season 3 to about season 6, Lee Sin was the jungler. Like, pro play, high rating, solo queue, he was like the jungler that every jungler, practically a mechanical jungler, played Lee Sin. And I think Riot kind of was like, right, let's just kind of phase him out a little bit, shake it up a little bit. And the champion has struggled. Unless you're a really dedicated Lee Sin player, which obviously there are some still, and they still do quite well. Like me, I'm never going to dedicate myself to 1, maybe even 2 champions. I've still got a pretty wide champion pool that I just like jumping on my picks. Lee's not a great champion just to casually jump on anymore. He's just not. And for Lee to be viable, again, we'll see with the XP nerfs and stuff and early game dominance, but for me, I think you still had to give Lee Sin a little bit more AD scaling. So let's, for example, just say his E. Random numbers being pulled out here. Let's just say Lee Sin's E has a 0.5 ratio. To bring Lee Sin into more modern terms, I think like he needs a 0.8 ratio on his E. Just bring up his damage numbers scaling into mid to late game, and that's how you bring Lee Sin back. But I don't know if this is going to do that, but we'll see. Renekton. So again, a champion that I've actually been on record saying, I think it's dumb to pick Renekton because you're not in pro play, and that's what this nerf is. Like, pro play, again, is very structured, that they build comps with strengths and weaknesses, that they'll be picking Renekton for that early game strength to mid game strength, getting him ahead early, maybe even giving him a bit of jungle pressure to make sure he kind of does well early. And then, yeah, he'll transition into more of like a protector, engager, more into mid to late game. In solo queue, you don't have that synergy, you don't have that respect from your teammates to help you as Renekton to snowball. They could just completely ignore you, which is often the case for top lane. And then you'll see Renekton go even in lane and then completely fall off to a Camille, for example, or something like that. And it's like, well, great, that was fun. So in solo queue, I've never felt that Renekton was that good. In pro play, it's different. And that's what the argument as old as time in League of Legends has, you don't know what you're talking about. Pro play does it. Pro play this. It's very different to solo queue. Incredibly different to solo queue. You could practically say it's a different game when it comes to balance. But obviously Riot balances the game, well, they try to, for both pro and solo. The numbers, everything is the same of what the pros play on to us. So it's kind of hard for them to balance both of them at the same time, but that's what they've always done. So they're just basically nerfing his Q. So the base healing is going down, and the enhanced non-champion base healing is going down. They're keeping his damage the same, but his sustain in the early game and sustain in general is going down. He still builds quite a lot of sustain items, but again, the power Renekton is there. He'll take a good trade with you early on. He'll probably win the trade, but then also he has his Q sustain tool that he'll get back to full health while you're still scared of Renekton. And he's back to full health, you're not. Oh god, I'm going to get killed by Renekton. That's a lot of the strength of the champion in the early game. SAMIRA, no, I will say, yeah, prepare your butts. This champion is about to get gutted. Again, not surprising. I've said it. You could probably, months ago, probably clip a video of me saying that this champion is never, it's going to happen. Because fundamentally, I like SAMIRA, by the way, so don't think I don't. I think she's cool, but she fundamentally has a broken kit. She has so much in her kit, and that's, again, Riot's admitted that the champions that they've done even recently, they have a lot of stuff. Because what Riot was scared of is that we're releasing new champions, people won't care, and they'll go back on they just won't care, they'll go on the other picks. But what if we make a champion do everything? That's fundamentally what Riot did in 2020. A lot of the champions that they released did everything. They've got a dash, a stun, true damage, AoE damage, single target burst. Champions did everything. And if you go through the list, it's quite true. Riot have even said in a recent devlog that they expect the upcoming champions in 2021 to be a bit more basic. So hopefully they don't have every mechanic in the sun in every single champion. But Samira is definitely part of the champions, like, again, a Kali rework, again, another example, that piece by piece, they'll either take things away from their kit, or it'll be in a constant wave of being overpowered or really weak. Overpowered, really weak, and it's all about numbers. If you have fundamentally a broken kit as a champion, you're either going to have, like, okay numbers, and then your kit makes you overpowered, or Riot, if they don't want to remove things from the kit, they have to just really nerf the numbers, the scaling, the base damage, and that seems to be what's happening with Samira. So, the passive. So when someone, you know, does something CC, she can do a bit of damage and raise them up into the air. That is being heavily nerfed in the early game, but a slight buff in late game, so there's that. But lane dominance is going down with that. The Q is, again, much the same. Early game dominance, quite nerfed. 20% AD nerf at rank 1, but a 10% buff at rank 5. W, the W duration, the Yasuo AoE wind wall, I guess, was 1 second long. It's now a 0.75 second duration, so that is a 25% nerf. That's quite big. E, this is huge. Samira can no longer dash through allies. That's massive because, again, this champion is a lot about positioning, and she can readjust very fast to get a great ultimate off, for example. A lot, even in lane phase, your aggression is eing through your own support and then being aggressive. You now can't do that. Doesn't exist. That's huge. So she no longer can dash through allies, but what they've given is she can now dash through enemy towers, but will target champions over the towers. So if a champion is standing next to a tower, it will still go on the champion nearby, but if she's just killed somebody, she has E up, she can dash through the tower to hopefully get away. So that's a new mechanic, but it's probably not as strong as dashing through allies. And the dash speed has been nerfed. It was 2050 movement speed. It's now 1600, so a 450 movement speed nerf to the dash. Yeah, and then also, oh god, sorry, the ultimate. The cooldown used to be 3 seconds, and often in a team fight, if a Samira's popping off, you'll see her ult usually twice per team fight, pretty consistently. Maybe not anymore. So it used to be a 3-second cooldown, and obviously, yes, when you finish your ultimate, you have to make your way back up through the alphabet to get back to S, but it's an 8-second cooldown now. Like, a good Samira could have got back through the alphabet in that 3 seconds. You might have S ready, but you're then 5 seconds away from it coming back on cooldown. That's also a really big nerf. So overall, this champion has a bit of damage extra in the late game, but won't be able to ultimate as much and has less mobility to reposition and also have lane aggression. So this is heavily nerfing Samira, in my opinion. And yeah, like, it's just the way of it. Like, I still, to this day, and again, hopefully I'm not wrong, they haven't removed, I don't think, the passive or being able to increase the CC, right? I don't think they did that. That's crazy that they haven't removed that. Like, she doesn't need that. The reason that, by the way, that exists, for those that are wondering, is to give a reason for her to be an AD carry in bot lane. That Riot's like, oh, if we put something that synergizes with other people, people will play her AD carry. That's what we want. Samira's an AD carry, she's playing bot lane. If they got rid of that mechanic, watch more people play her mid. I think that's the reason it exists, but it's still a bit of a dumb mechanic. Skarner. So base health and health are growth decrease. So his base health has gone down by 21 and his health growth is going down by 5. So overall, a less healthy Skarner. But, you know, I still don't really see Skarners. I still don't personally rate the champion very highly, but I know for some reason he's really popular right now. I know he's really good with the new Chem Tank. But again, I just don't rate Skarner that heavily. Like, yes, he's tanky, but most of his core kit is countered by one item, QSS. So if the primary targets that he has to ult buys a QSS, or the support buys a Mikhail's, the use of Skarner does go down. And yes, you could kind of call it, oh, Skarner tax, so you have to spend, I think it's 1,600 gold or 1,400 gold to buy a QSS that normally you wouldn't have to buy, but then you're playing Skarner, and there you go. Like, it's just not, to me, personally worth it, but anyway. Soraka, Q movement speed increased and W base heal increased. So overall fine. Again, don't really see any Sorakas. The healing nerfs that everybody is trying to, cry to riot for, including myself, is not about supports. It's not about healing supports. It's not the issue. The issue is Omnivamp was a mistake, in my opinion, because you'll literally see an AD carry nearly die just to get out of combat for a few seconds, go to some minions, attack 3 times, I'm back to full health, I'm going to go back in the fight. A Soraka can't full health heal you unless she's literally blowing her W multiple times, her even summoner heal sometimes on you, and her ultimate. Like, that's a use, not 3 auto attacks. So yeah, like, that's more of the issue, not this. Talon, W cooldown now scales and bonus damage ratio also scales. So they're helping Talon a bit, which I think is fine. He's definitely, I'd definitely say the weaker of the AD assassins for mid lane. I think even Kiana's probably better than him. And, part of it is because he's very old school. Talon is quite an old champion. And the newer versions, even Zed, arguably, just has a lot more outplay potential than a Talon. So Talon, W cooldown used to be a flat 9 seconds. It's now going down to 7 at rank 5. And then obviously you also get cooldown reduction or whatever it's called nowadays, ability haste. And then also the damage ratio, the bonus damage ratio of Rake used to be 40% attack damage, is now 55. So those are pretty big buffs to Talon. I'm pretty sure Talon players will be happy. I don't know if that will bring new people to Talon, but Talon players will be like, hey, Tryndamere. I can hear in the back, and again, not trying to offend, but I can hear, like, low-rated people go, what the hell, Tryndamere buffs? Again, Tryndamere's Tryndamere. Like, he's a very one-dimensional champion. One of the most one-dimensional champions in League. I attack you. Thunk, thunk. I auto-attack. The end. The mechanic of Tryndamere that, personally, in my games, whenever I have Tryndameres, they seem to even struggle with, is pressing R. That's it, right? That's Tryndamere. Spin, press R, auto-attack. I don't see him as a problematic champion. He's an annoying champion because you'll do well against him in lane, and then you'll be wanting to group. All right, let's team fight. Let's go. All right, big team fight. Where's Tryndamere? He's not here. Oh, he's on my inhib in top lane. Oh, God, Jesus Christ. It's annoying, but that is what Tryndamere is. So I don't see him as a problem. And yeah, they're buffing him. So they're giving him a little bit of a stronger lane phase, not by much. They're giving him 3 more attack damage in the early game. It's not incredibly a big nerf, but it will do little things, like where before he might have gone for an all-in with Ignite at level 2 or level 3. That little bit of extra AD, where maybe before he didn't get a kill, maybe he does now. Like, that's the difference between these little buffs that I think some people don't understand. It's that little difference. That if you've played against a Tryndamere recently, and he went for that all-in at level 1 or level 2, and you just survived, literally just, oh, damn. Now you won't. Like, that's the difference. It does add up. Varus, the blight of his W, Blighted Quiver, empowered Q bonus damage when you press the W, then empowers the Q. It's going up to a maximum of 30% at its top. That's pretty big. And then the max missing health damage was percentage-wise 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. It's now 10.8. So again, Riot did say that they don't want these decimals anymore, but now they're introducing new ones. 10.8. 14.4, 18 flat, 21.6, and 25.2. So what does that mean? That, in essence, means, because you obviously usually max Q, I'd think, on Varus, or especially lethality Varus, you're getting 30% more on the base, I guess, on channel time, the bonus damage, and then the missing health as well is going up a, 4.2% max health? That's pretty good. So again, obviously for that, you need your Q to be maxed to have the most powerful arrow, and then your W to be maxed as well. And I think you max, I don't know, on Q then E then W, so it might take a while to actually get this benefit, but who knows? If this is really strong, it might make people max Q then W and ignore E, but we'll see. Veigar, so a champion that I don't think is too strong at the moment. So yeah, Veigar's fallen short in other mid laners, giving him a boost. So the cost of his Q has gone down by 10 every rank, so that helps him just to sustain a little bit more in lane phase with mana. And his cooldown of his ultimate as well has gone down 10 seconds at rank 2 and 20 seconds at rank 3. Also, my night screen is trying to turn on, and I don't exactly want to look orange, because at 8:30, which that's what the time is, My screens go orange to help my eyes out in nighttime. But there's all the champion changes. Nothing crazy, I wouldn't say. Well, apart from some of the mega nerfs to Samira. But we have attack speed buff for a Ginsu's. Moonstone. So again, it's Moonstone and Staff of the Flowing Waters every single game. The ally heal was 70 to 100 based on the allies level. It's now 50 to 100. So it's a nerf to the early game pressure, the early advantages, because you could get this item still in lane phase, and then sustain is, there you go. So they're just nerfing it. And here we go, Grievous Wounds. Well, Grievous Wounds are meant to be a reactive purchase. No, they're not. Without even, like, just the problem. Okay, how do I explain this? Okay, so the way that I'd explain this is Riot want Grievous Wounds to be an optional purchase. They're like, okay, if the enemy team has a lot of healing, there's that. The problem with that is Lifesteal / Omnivamp is not an optional purchase in the game right now. It's on the base core items. So maybe a good way of fixing it is completely get rid of Omnivamp or healing, self-healing, Lifesteal. Get rid of it on the core item build for champions, and then make Omnivamp or Lifesteal side items like Grievous Wounds are. Grievous Wounds isn't on the mythic items for mages, the mythic items for tanks. Some of the items, the core items for AD carry have Omnivamp, or like that type of thing, like the core items. A Morellonomicon isn't exactly, like, because again the item is a little bit weak, they are buffing it here, giving it more ability power, but it always feels bad to buy Morello on a mage because there are better options than Morello, but you're having to buy it because they have their core build, which is giving them 20% Omnivamp, and then they have Ravenor's Hunter that's also giving them an extra 12%. They're getting 32% or whatever it is, Omnivamp, just by their core build, but in your core build, you have no anti-healing. I think that's a big issue that maybe Riot hasn't sussed. But what are they doing? So they're giving ability power to Morello. They're giving attack damage more to Mortal Reminder. And they're giving 100 more health to Chemtank. Chempunk, Chainsword. That's not going to do enough, I wouldn't say. But again, maybe that's the honest thing. And, you know, sometimes they just come to me in these videos. But maybe that's the problem, is maybe there's just too... Well, Ravenor's Hunter definitely needs to be looked at. Maybe even Omnivamp as a whole. But in essence, the champions that have problematic healing right now, the self-healing, the AD carries partially, a lot of the top laners, their core items, give them Omnivamp. Where a mage or people that need to stop the healing, anti-healing is not part of their core. That's what I'd say. Like, maybe you could argue Bramble Vest is core now for tanks, maybe. But again, it's going back to that, you know, basic thing of 40% anti-healing, even 60% anti-healing isn't enough. Even Reckless said it. You know, if you don't trust me, Reckless, one of the best players that's ever been in League, the other day, there was a little clip of him basically saying, there's no point buying anti-heal items because they don't do enough. 60% anti-healing is not enough. That he said, if you're looking for balance, healing, let's say, to be balanced, 100% is the target. He says healing right now is at 150, maybe 200%. Like, it's overperforming by a lot. So when you're buying a 60% anti-heal, it's still, like, let's say it's 200% overperforming in lifesteal. You're buying 60% anti-heal. It's still 140% healing, if that makes sense. So what's the point in buying it? You may as well buy the better items, and hopefully you can just burst them, chain CC them, and just kill them before they can heal. That's the problem. And so when you have one of the best ever players of the game saying that, like I've been saying for months, yeah, hopefully Riot eventually does something about it, but this is not enough. Mage items as well. Cosmic Drive, the no longer grants bonus movement speed when dealing ability damage. That's gone. But the new thing is if you have at least 160 ability power, gain 20 ability haste, and then movement speed based on level, and the ability haste is going down because it's getting that. Again, that's a math thing. It's probably overall a buff, maybe, which is cool. Everfrost, so they're changing the item build for it. They're giving it more health. They're giving it more damage. Well, they're giving it more base damage, less scaling, but the cast time is also shorter, so it's more punchy. It's quicker. not many champions by Everfrost, like KATARINA may be the only one, but there's that. And then also the Ornn upgrade is also seeing some buffs as well. Jungle camp changes, so this is the big XP that we spoke about in the Lee Sin section, that jungling right now is very problematic, that it's the most influential role in the game. It's the most snowbally role in the game, arguably, and it's also the least popular role in the game as well. So it's the best role, arguably, to win games and the least played because of, I think, how much impact the jungle has. It's so much pressure on the player. Like, which player wants to be mainly responsible for winning the game for his team or losing the game for his team every single game? Because that's practically what jungle is. So they're nerfing experience and gold. So they're giving less experience for Gromp. They're giving and gold. Less for Krugs, small Krugs, Crimson Raptors. All of that is giving less gold and XP. So what that's going to do is force junglers, they are now in early game for longer. They're not going to hit mid games. You know, their mythic items are now being delayed. Their levels are being delayed. So that's where earlier, like I said, a champion like Lee Sin, who's an early game jungler, it makes him better because he wants to be in that early game place. That's his strength. So if he's fighting a Kha'Zix in the early game, he might be able to do it in the early, but when they both get mid game so quick, he just couldn't, it just didn't matter. But now they're both in early game longer, that gives a champion like Lee Sin a bit more chance. I still think this isn't the fix to it, because again, it's still going to be the role that can affect all three lanes. It's still the role that can get the neutral camps that only one jungler can really get, or the dragons are such a big thing that only one jungler is really going to get, or the Rift Heralds. That's still jungling. Like, maybe this is just going to shift the meta to more early game junglers are now going to start rising up a bit to snowball, but that's about it. But anyway, health healing update, by the way. Here we go. So I didn't actually know this was coming. After seeing the incoming healing tech alive for some time, we've come to a few conclusions. Incoming healing is very satisfying for the player using it and their allies, but it can hurt clarity around how much health enemies have in these tense combat situations. We also found that when it combined with shields and grey health, the stacked bars could be a bit confusing. So they're just, well, they're not really changing healing, right? They're just changing how it looks. Incoming healing only displays for that player and their allies, so not for the enemy team that they can't see, oh, they're about to get Soraka healed that much. And then also incoming healing and now has a special bar treatment to differentiate it from other health bar effects. So again, they're not doing anything to nerfing healing, they're just improving the clarity of it. So there's that. Shop updates, clash stuff, bug fixes, which you should look through if there's any champions or anything, like, again, Gale Force, Cloudburst and all that stuff. But there we go, that is the patch. Quite a long one, no skins in this one because the events just happened. But yeah, some interesting changes. Some I agree with, some I don't really agree with. Some are needed, some are missing that probably need to be put in the game. But that is the patch notes of 11.4. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please do throw a like on the video. That does help out quite a bit. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. Enjoy the patch note video. Hopefully you did and everything. And I will see you guys in the upcoming content. So again, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.